I'm Dean. I'm the dad.
I'm Laura. I'm the mom.
And I'm Krysta. I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Hey, that was nice and in unison.
We try.
Sometimes we do get it right.
Wow, Dad, really?
I was teasing. Geez, calm down.
No,
Calm down, my Krysta.
that's not possible for me today.
Just kind of having a high-strung day, I think.
You're having a high-strung day.
I would
Okay.
take that as a yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Apparently Krista's part vampire today. So, alrighty. Well, let's take a moment and talk about our show.
Our show that we like.
Yeah, that we like to do.
Our show that we hope that everyone else likes.
The show that we do, we hang out with each other while we do it.
I will.
And if someone doesn't like it, then we ask them to keep that to themselves.
Exactly. So, if you want to help out the show, a lot of ways you can do that. There's Patreon, which has 3 levels at through different groups you can donate to. Team Spa Day, Team Bunny, Team Podcast. I want to say it's like 1, 3, 5, and 10 are little donation levels. It's a monthly thing. So, yeah, just any little bit helps. So there's that. If you can't do a monthly thing, which, no hard feelings there, you can always go to Buy Me a Coffee and do a one-time donation. And if you can't afford to do a donation, which we don't judge anybody, you can, if you enjoy the show, you can just share it on social media. If you don't enjoy it, like Laura said, keep it to yourself. Exactly. So, what are we talking about tonight? Well,
you can't feed them after midnight.
Don't
get them what?
Ish. See, so tonight we're going to go back to World War II. And fighter pilots reporting that the enemies had help in the form of gremlins. Monstrous imps that did their best to wreck planes. And these gremlins not only created a superstition among American and European pilots, but wound its way into American entertainment. Tonight, we look at the folklore of gremlins.
Ooh, gremlin. Wait, why are we looking at gremlins? We already have them in the house.
Okay, we're talking about...
talking about real gremlins, not your siblings.
Yeah, we're talking about mythological gremlins, not any of your sisters or brothers or whatever.
Yeah, okay, I guess we can do that. Don't touch my footy. Guys, Dad's trying to tickle me.
Well, before we get into gremlins, though, it occurs to me that we need something. What would that be? Oh, yeah, that'd be Krysta Facts.
Hello.
Krysta Facts.
Well, every time you say hello, I was clapping.
No! You're not supposed to do that, or every word I say, it'll be just...
Well, you kept saying hello over and over, so...
Don't do that. Don't do that. They're going to get bored of the clapping.
I was just, welcoming you to your bit.
Thank you.
I don't think people on your side of the family get bored of applause, honey.
That is true. Applause is good. Once you have people...
It hurts, though.
But once you're standing on stage with people applauding for you,
I'm not
There-
standing on stage. I'm scared.
There's nothing like it. Trust me, you will one day.
You have.
It's in your DNA.
She has. And she loved it.
Yeah, I loved it then, not now.
You'd love it still. You may not think you would, but I'm just telling you, there's something about the adoration of fans and people going that makes you just feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof. It's better than any alcohol or any drug out there.
Ew. Okay. Well, hello, people, to my corner. Welcome to the Natural Gremlin Corner, where we don't need to... Don't do it, Dad! I see you looking at that button. Don't you dare!
Wow. Wow.
Listen, I'm
She's
just
calling
taking
you out
I'm
tonight,
just taking
Daddy.
my spot on the show.
Okay.
She's calling you down and dirty. Speaking of dirty, Krysta, what are your facts tonight?
Well, since gremlins need showers, we're going to talk about hygiene. First of all, what is hygiene? Hygiene is using a range of practices to keep oneself, others, in the surroundings you work, live, and play in, clean and hygienic to prevent and reduce the risk of illness and infection.
Wow.
Wait, so can you? Once you're done with this, can you explain this to your brothers?
Rick, exactly, I'm hoping.
No, because they don't listen to me.
That was
It
laughter.
Okay, well, first fact. Oh, by the way, before I move on to facts, sorry about this, guys. The facts that I'm getting from here are from citronhygiene.com. Go look at it yourself because there is more than 5 facts on here, and you should definitely check it out.
Lots of good, healthy information.
So my first fact from here,
It's good, clean fun.
That too.
this is actually more of the dirty kind. Ahem. But not, don't look at Mom. No. Your TV remote is more dangerous than you think. That remote controls contribute to 90,000 annual deaths from infection acquired in hospitals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little...
University of Arizona researchers determined that the television remotes spread antibiotic-resistant
Staphylococcus.
which makes them the worst carriers of bacteria in hospital rooms.
Wow.
Even worse than toilet handles. If there was a focus on cleaning objects like these, imagine how many illnesses could be prevented from the get-go.
How dirty does a remote get? I mean,
Well, think about it. You hold it in your hand. What do
In
you
your
do with
hand.
your hand when you're sick?
Ah!
You cough on it, you breathe on it, you eat with it, you wipe your ass with it.
Mom.
language.
Now, bleep me out.
And this second one will also say some stuff because I know people who don't do this. Ahem, Larry! Dry your hands! You're 1,000 times more likely to spread bacteria with damp hands.
Well then.
Don't rush out of the washroom after only washing your hands. You've only done half the job. Use effective hand dryers or hand paper towels to dry your hands to help create a hygienic environment. Not movement. But I do have to object to one of these things. Hand dryers are not very good to use because of the air that's in them. It's also very much bacterialized.
Well, okay. Here's the thing for me on those hand dryers. I hate them. I don't feel like they work. I always feel like I'm walking out with wet hands. The only ones I've ever found that do seem to work
Are the Dyson ones.
I was going to say the Dyson ones, those are nice. Those I can stick my hands in. They come out feeling dry. They're crazy good. Dyson makes a good product there.
Yes, they do.
And I don't even get paid to say that, but nope. I'm just saying I like the Dyson.
It's just true.
And businesses invest in the Dyson. Quit getting those weird ones that are left over from Mr. Mom. Well, you know the scene where they turn.
I do, because that Taliesin Jaffe's in that scene, and
is he the one getting his butt dried?
It's either him or the other brother, but yeah, I believe it's him. I'll have to go back and do my research, but he's in that movie, and yes.
Hi, Taliesin. Okay, moving on.
Okay, wow. Do not tickle me, Dad.
I would never do such a thing.
Lies, you tried to do it 3 different times.
How dare.
Why these poor people?
How dare.
How loud. All right, Krysta.
I like loud.
Number 3?
Yes, fact number 3.
I like loud. Loud is good. She can be as loud as she wants.
I'm supposed to have a big voice. I'm being big voice.
True. That's true. Go ahead, be loud.
Fact number 3. Toilet germs are following you. Sorry.
Really? So that's who that guy is. Biggest toilet germ I've ever seen.
Well, that's kind of weird. Do you have a stalker? Because that's different from toilet germs.
Maybe.
Germs from flushing a toilet can travel up to 6 feet.
I know, isn't that psychotic?
Gross. Every time you flush a toilet with the lid up, a fine mist is sprayed into the air containing a range of bacteria causing diseases. What's worse? Some hand dryers and other restroom appliances encourage the dispersal of black bacteria, which can then be inhaled or deposited into your clothing and belongings. Moral of the story: shut the toilet lid before flushing, and installing in toilet seat cleaner can go a long way in making sure your bathroom, your washroom users are protected. Commercial air purifiers can also help in treating the air in the washroom to actually get rid of harmful germs or bacteria. So that is more of a business type thing. We as just average humans can just shut the toilet lid and we should be okay. But, I mean, it's good for the people who actually have enough money to do that recently.
Well, see, I actually know about this one, and I don't remember to shut the toilet nearly as often as I should before I flush it. But, yeah, I know this one because there's a guy by the name of Dave Barry who was a humorist. He was actually also in a band with Stephen King. The Rock Bottom Remainders, I want to say. But yeah, they were in this band. They would do literary things together. Anyway, but Dave Barry was interviewing a scientist who told him about how toilets like basically spray out over 6 feet, and anybody who keeps their toothbrushes out, like in the open, winds up with little bits of toilet goo on their toothbrush.
Ew.
And like the scientist recommended like wiping down the lid of your toilet with alcohol and then setting the alcohol on fire to kill all the germs.
That sounds dangerous, actually. Maybe not do that.
Yeah.
I'm not Dave Barry. I'm just telling you. That's what he said. And that's out of date by at least 20 years, I want to say.
Okay, Mom's going to be a little bit mad about this. Maybe? I don't know. It's about coffee. So.
Okay.
Your morning coffee may not be a lifesaver after all. About 90% of office mugs harbor germs and bacteria that can make employees ill. So not to you. You're good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Your morning coffee mug may be the least pleasant thing sitting on your desk. Studies conducted by the University of Arizona, once again, thank you, University of Arizona, you tend to really like doing research about stuff like that, found they have the potential to cause serious illness. Worse still, up to 20% of the mugs tested also had traces of fecal matter.
Fun.
You may want to rethink using shared office kitchen appliances.
I wouldn't ever.
They're most likely to be making matters worse.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever.
Yeah, I haven't trusted any employee break room I've ever had to use.
Nope.
So everyone who's sharing mugs in the office,
Maybe stop.
please maybe either stop or bring your own mug. And if you can't do that, I apologize. Wake up earlier and drink coffee.
Yeah, have coffee before you go to the office.
Yeah. Fact number 5. Oh, we're already on the last fact. Boo-hoo, so sad.
Aww.
Fact number 5. Take the stairs next time, perhaps? Elevator buttons harbor 22% more bacteria than toilet seats.
Well, you know.
Think twice before taking the elevator next time. Alternatively, install a hand sanitizer dispenser near every elevator to use immediately after you touch the floor buttons.
Yeah.
Or you could
purse.
just push the buttons with your butt.
That's not going to help anything. That's going to make it worse for other people.
Well, yeah.
That is more germs. No.
Actually, I think your butt probably has less germs. Your butt on the outside of your clothes probably has less germs than your hands have.
Yes, but it's also going to make it for worse. Like one of my facts said, one of my previous facts, one germ can, like, go into, like, 80 million in a day.
Fair enough.
Well, okay. A simpler solution would be to carry a bottle of hand sanitizer with you, and after you have to push that button, you go and squirt a little and do that.
Yeah. See, that would work. But I'm sorry, not 80 million. It was 8 million germs in one day, but that's still a lot if you're thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, that's plenty.
All right, well, that was it of my facts. I actually did a...
Way to go, Miss Krysta.
Wow, I'm impressed.
I know, right?
And next week, you not only have facts, but it's check-in with Krysta time, because next week is episode 130.
Oh, my. Wow, are you guys excited about that?
Super excited.
I only kept track of it, you know.
Yeah, I think that means he's excited.
Yeah, I don't think so. Hey, don't tickle me!
She's obsessed with being tickled.
She's a mess tonight, yeah.
I don't know why she's so obsessed.
How dare you agree with him, Mom? How dare
You're a little bit of a mess tonight, babe.
I feel disrespected right now.
So, thank you for those facts, Krysta. They were amazing, as always.
Krysta.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Gremlins. And to talk about Gremlins, we really have to talk about pilots in World War II. In some ways, pilots were the stars of World War II's fighting men. Their part in the war was usually short, and those who were good at aerial combat were lionized. These men were often woke up not knowing whether or not it was a mission day, but a lot of pilots said that if they woke up, hearing the sound of plane engines turning, they knew it was a mission day. And so what they would do is they would wake, they would shower, dress, and have breakfast before they went to the mission briefing. And like there was a Jeep put at their disposal. And when I say a Jeep, I don't mean a Jeep that they all piled in, let's go, guys. No, a Jeep with a driver who just waited to take them places.
I see.
So the driver would drive them to breakfast, and they would have a breakfast. And the thing is that pilots could and often did talk with others, but they were really encouraged to stay together to make them sort of a unit and a family. So losing anybody in the sky was very bad because pilots were almost treated like brothers. Pilots and plane crews. And so nobody wanted to lose anybody in those situations.
Of course not.
Now, they'd go to the mission briefing, which is where they'd be told, the mission details, where they were engaged upon, the mission objectives, and the resistance they were likely to encounter. Then a Jeep would take the pilots to the planes, and they were off on their portion of the war, and air combat was some of the most intense fighting of the war, because you had the dogfights, which was little planes fighting little planes. And depending on what part of the war it was in, a lot of it was about air attitude and altitude and angle. And then later in the war, it became less about that as the weapons got better. It became a lot more about and the ability to move in the air and outfly your opponent.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's really intense combat. And these pilots would go through very intense training to become pilots. And among other things prized by these men were a sense of observation. To this day, you cannot be a pilot if you have bad eyesight.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
So if you have an astigmatism or, any sort of visual problem, they don't let you fly planes.
Well, sure. Makes total sense.
Works for me. Now, the average life expectancy of a pilot in World War II was about 10 weeks.
Wow. So, in other words, they may not have wanted people to die, but usually that was what was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it goes like this. Enough pilots died the first time out that it balanced out the pilots who never did. Let's say that. Flying was dirty, dangerous business. And especially at one point in the war, the little planes were there to protect the big planes. Gotcha. They would send a bomber to Germany, but they would surround it with all these little planes because they knew that the Germans would send up a ton of little planes to try to shoot down the bigger plane. And so what would happen is you'd have these little dogfights as the big plane rumbled on towards wherever it was going to drop its next packet of bombs. Probably named something like Fat Man or Little Boy or something else equally weird.
Oh, I see. Thanks. Thanks for bringing that up because, you don't know that that's a sore subject with me at all.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
No. You don't get to be offended now because you were on his side when he tickled me. So, ooka booka, you deserve it.
You said ooka booka me? What is this?
Yes, I did.
I'm not.
Room time? What?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
I've been ooka booka'd on my own show.
Dear listener,
my own child.
Dear listener, please do not ever ooka booka your mother.
Well,
They're
not
gonna
unless
call
you're
her
in
Jewish
the tiki
anyway.
room. I mean, if I'm going to be ooka booka'd, I want to go to Disney.
Sorry. No. Okay, before we move on, I would like to apologize for that. I just make that noise sometimes, so it's not meant to be offensive. It's literally just how I talk.
Okay, Krysta. I'll forgive you. This time.
This time, okay.
Just this time.
Just this time, okay.
By the way, Krysta.
Boop. Oh, how dare you! I hate... No.
It's getting serious up in here. Krysta just got booped.
And I just booped him right back.
Okay, the booping has commenced.
Okay, yes, we're done now.
Well, no, we're not done. But
We're done with the booping!
oh, okay. I thought you meant we were done. So, big planes, little planes. We're not going to talk about offensive names.
Right. Big planes, little planes, swimming in the water, something, bring back my daughter. Anyway.
What?
I don't know. It's a song. It's going through my head.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short, while not popularized until after World War II, it appears that superstitions about the gremlin go back as far as the 1920s, with many believing that pilots created the superstition to explain various equipment failures in their airplanes.
Or, it could have just been that technology stunk back then.
It could have been. We're talking about a situation that is almost certainly folklore. There is almost zero evidence to suggest that it's anything but. And the best evidence to suggest it's anything but is the pilots that reported seeing these things. And we'll talk about some of that later.
Well, and, Phoebe Cates' performance.
But we'll get to popular culture. Can we just talk about the mythology before you keep dragging the Mogwai into this?
Okay,
Bright light, Mogwai!
Yeah, my childhood!
Hey! No! Yeah, other people deserve spots on this show. It's not just you and you only. Get used to it. It's 3 people's podcast, not just yours.
Okay. Well, now that I've been severely chastised.
Yes. I told you, she's taking us to task down and dirty today.
Well, as I said, the tales of gremlins go back as far as the 1920s. Now, gremlins didn't appear in any literary sources until Pauline Gower's The ATA, Women with Wings, which was published in 1938. Scotland is described as gremlin country, a rugged territory where gremlins utilize scissors to cut wires of biplanes' engines. So, yeah. Now, in 1943, Roald Dahl released a book about gremlins on behalf of Walt Disney.
Huh.
Called, oddly enough, Gremlins.
Eh.
Now, you might have heard of Roald Dahl. He authored such famous stories as James and the Giant Peach, The Witches, Matilda, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Ooh. I like a bunch of those movies, and so does Blue.
Well, you might try reading books by Roald Dahl. He wrote all of that.
Very nice.
He was like the 1940s version of Neil Gaiman. So this is one of the first. This is the first major exposure the public has to the idea of gremlins. Is this book by Roald Dahl? That was put out by Disney. So let's just say it got into a lot of homes.
Sure.
Because Disney was already quite popular in the 1940s.
Well, yeah.
So now let's take a moment for a word from our sponsors.
Yay, sponsor time.
Hey, honey.
What?
It was sponsored.
I also
Yay.
feel sponsored.
Yay!
Ah, hey, no tickling. Stop that.
I wouldn't. How dare you?
Dad, stop lying to them.
Now, so
Yourself.
we were on Gremlins. Often, when pilots would leave upon missions, they would see misty shapes that reminded them of goblins from folklore. And these creatures were dubbed the Gremlins. Now, the thing about gremlins is I always thought they were simply negative, but apparently there is almost as much literature of them helping pilots as hurting them.
Interesting.
Yeah. These creatures have been cited in airplane factories as well. They often get blamed for electrical or mechanical failures in airplanes. Pilots have claimed these creatures sabotage their planes, although other pilots, both civilian and military, have claimed that the gremlins have helped them land their planes when otherwise they would not have been able to. In recent years, some claim their voices have been heard on tapes telling pilots when to change their approach or correct their altitude or otherwise advise them on avoiding disaster. Now, a guy named Charles Lindbergh, you might have
heard of him.
Yeah, you might have heard of him.
They have.
He claimed that while he was on his transatlantic flight, he was so tired, but he was so worried, because if he fell asleep, there wasn't anybody there to wake him up.
Sure.
And he claims that as he got tired, he sensed these strange misty shapes on board his airplane that reassured him that he was safe, and they talked to him about navigation and revealed mystical information to him.
Wow.
Which I didn't know they let pilots, smoke any sort of drugs before they went.
Stop that.
Dad.
What?
You are being such a butt today.
I'm sorry. So...
But do it next time and we might have some issues.
Okay. So, that's really just the sense of gremlin. They're like these insane mechanics that sabotage planes or fix them depending on, I have no idea
what.
What
Day of the month it is.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's they like the pilot, they don't like the pilot, I don't know. Now,
they did get on a scratcher ticket. You never know.
Yeah. Well, these creatures have been described as being between 6 inches and 4 feet tall.
Wow.
That is actually kind of scary.
That's
a scary height
difference. That's quite a variation. What makes them think they're the same creatures is that different size of scale.
I have no idea.
Maybe they look the same. Mom.
They tend to be spindly armed and spindly legged.
Okay.
Sometimes they have horns, sometimes not. Sometimes they have wings, sometimes not. Sometimes wearing green shirts and red pants. So apparently gremlins have a uniform.
And that's okay. If they want to have a uniform and
a uniform
nice,
that doesn't match?
Listen.
Well, it is red and green, so it makes me wonder if they looted these from Santa's elves.
No, they are Santa's elves.
I was gonna say, maybe they're not gremlins. Maybe they're defunct elves. Maybe when elves.
No, maybe these are Krampus's elves.
It could be. Or maybe
I would think
when elves retire, they go into the gremlin business. You don't know.
Well, see, okay, if we were to say, okay, all folklore is now real, and then you go, okay, these elves used to fly with Santa from time to time, but then all these mundanes are in the air and they're flying air machines. Maybe the gremlins got, hey, you're not supposed to be up here. No, let's sabotage a few of these.
Yeah.
Maybe keep them out of the sky. So Santa doesn't have to deal with them.
That's a possibility. Maybe they're elite elves and they're up there to keep the pilot that might get in Santa's way out of the sky. I don't know.
Could be. We don't know. Now, and we're going to go over some accounts from some of the pilots that have claimed to have seen these creatures. One account claims a pilot saw a red-eyed, sharp-toothed creature with long, spindly hands just staring at the pilot through the window, like it was clinging to his plane and just staring at him through the window. And while that was going on, another one of the creatures jumped on the nose of the plane.
Oh.
And he stared at these things for several moments before he finally decided to do like a roll and started moving erratically, which caused these creatures to fall off the plane. But he never really saw what happened to them after he managed to knock them off this plane. Now remember, these are pilots telling these stories.
Yeah.
These are guys trained in the art of flying, and they take it pretty seriously because it's hard to not take flying seriously.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you're supposed to take driving seriously, and that's moves way slower than a plane, and generally way lighter and way less filled with explosive liquid. Like, I don't know how many hundreds of gallons of jet fuel or airplane fuel or in an airplane, but I think it's probably a lot more than what you put in your minivan.
Probably. So, let's talk about this one. Back in 1923, a respected Royal Air Force pilot crashed his plane into the waters of the England coast after little creatures interfered with his flight midair. According to the pilot, the gremlins first appeared to him the previous evening after they popped out of a beer bottle. And I'm wondering if the pilot wasn't having something a little harder than beer, but...
Yeah, well, yeah, I might question that one myself.
He later suspected that they had followed him into the plane where they started messing around with the controls of the plane and the navigation system. In his account, the pilot claimed that the creatures became too much of a nuisance that he had to dump the plane off the coast of England.
Yes, that one sounds to me like he maybe flipped something.
Yeah, see, I
like his reality switch. I just...
Or he was drinking something he shouldn't have been drinking.
Somebody put something in it. Yeah, that one sounds a little far-fetched.
But I like that one because, I don't know, it's very cartoonish to me.
Very something, all right.
Now, following many reports of these creatures, the RAF, the Royal Air Force, began to offer advice on how to deal with them. They designed planes with lots of curves to deprive the little creatures of handholds and footholds.
Wow.
This is the Royal Air Force going, okay, people are reporting little people in the plane. What can we do? I know. Maybe if we redesign the equipment so they can't hang on to it so easily.
Okay.
Grown people.
Go on, Brett.
Grown people thought of this and had this as a discussion and then made changes to existing plans.
Okay, but in the history of humankind, we know that humans make really, really, really dumb decisions. Frequently. So,
further, some thought that these creatures were released by the Nazis.
Well, okay, but yeah, sure. All right.
But after the war, they were surprised to discover that German pilots reported the same things. Further reports came in from the American pilots and other nations' pilots as well. To this day, gremlins are occasionally reported by pilots. Not at the levels they were in 1940s. And because it severely dropped off after the end of World War II.
Gotcha.
But they are still reported to this day from time to time. So that's the legend. That's the story. Now, and I was able to find easily 15 or 20 of these stories, but they're all kind of the same. In that either it's a pilot with something going wrong who sees a gremlin, or it's a pilot who sees a gremlin on his plane that somehow vanishes, or it's a pilot that sees them climb out of a bottle and follow him around. That's only one pilot, but the sightings are all very similar. is what I'm trying to say, for the most part. And so, while I'm not normally one to take folklore and go, well, this has to be true, I kind of do that with this a little bit, just because it's pilots reporting it. And pilots, like I said, one of the traits they valued, and to this day still value, is observation. So when a pilot says, I saw a little man in my plane.
Yes, but let me just take that a step further because, and not to interrupt you, but I also know that people who work around airlines and like the people who watch the air traffic controllers and stuff, like those are some of the highest stress jobs that they say ever, and those people have like hugely massive suicide rates and like flip out, have like lose their minds. So it would stand to reason that the people in those cockpits would also be under that same kind of stress and strain, and very realistically could have as much to do with mental issues and people just freaking out as it is actual gremlins. Not to say that I don't believe that anything is possible, because you've known me long enough to know that I do, but I'm just to keep things open and see both sides of it. I definitely can see where it could be honest, like emotional or even chemical imbalances with them being in the air, high altitudes, thin oxygen, all of those things.
And that's a good point. And there is the fact that they stopped seeing them for the most part after World War II. And I think, that's just it. I didn't look for more modern sightings, but I think some of the things that get ascribed to gremlins, like pilots talk about hearing voices in their headsets, telling them to pull up or move or whatever. And these are not the voices of their co-pilots, and they're not, and they get kind of blamed on gremlins. But I wonder if that couldn't be. I think it's far more likely that a ghost or the spirit of maybe a pilot, or even an angel perhaps, is giving them this information. And because they're pilots with that history, well, it had to be a gremlin. I kind of think that's where that comes from. So let's talk about popular culture, because with a topic like this, you have to, especially one that has made so many appearances in popular culture.
Well, I've already thrown my 2 cents worth in a couple of nickels out on this, so I'm going to let you go ahead.
In 1943, Bugs Bunny stars in a cartoon called Falling Hair, which features his battle with a gremlin. And actually, it was one of my favorite cartoons when I was Krysta's age, even younger. And the thing is, you can't really find Bugs Bunny on anymore, which kind of makes me sad. But I kind of get it, because it was written with that 1940 sensibility in mind, or the 1960 sensibility in mind. So it does a lot of stuff that
is frowned upon in this day.
Yeah, that is kind of racist, or this or that, and it's done in my mind kind of innocently, but at the same time, I cringe to see it.
Right.
So I get to now. Like, the one place you still can catch Bugs Bunny quite a bit is Space Jam. He's all over Space Jam, but that's a very sanitized version of Bugs Bunny in the Looney Tunes. So there's that. Now, Gremlins and Gremlins 2 are probably the most popular movies featuring gremlins. Gremlins is easily the better of the two movies, although, if you want my honest opinion, Gremlins 2 was shot to be more for laughs than the first one was. So, also, any movie that contains Hulk Hogan. Probably not a great movie. I'm just saying. And he does have a part in Gremlins too. The Twilight Zone TV show had a famous episode featuring a gremlin, as well as a young Willie Shatner in a tale called Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And the gremlin in that was really something like, it looked more like a gorilla combined with a pig.
Yeah, it was pretty nightmarish. But of course, I'm sure that's what they were going for. It was,
Well, yeah, but it's that 1950s, 60s sense of, oh my God, what is it? It just like, well, if we put a pig nose on a gorilla mask, that'd be cheap. But if you don't like that version, the tale would be remade for the film Twilight Zone, the movie, this time with John Lithgow in the role of the neurotic flyer.
Yes.
And that part of that movie is great. Now, again, I hate to promote that movie because of the fact that Vic Damone got killed in it and two kids, all based on the director's bad choices. But I still enjoy that part of the movie.
Right. It's well done.
Yes, it is. So those are the best known popular culture appearances. Now, they've also appeared in comic books. They've appeared in various other situations and books and movies. But those are probably the most popular, the ones most people would know. And the first movie, Gremlins, there was a scene where a guy was a World War II vet, and he would talk about...
He talked about it.
Yeah, he talked about the myth of gremlins.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad would complain about them whenever we got him anything that was designed and built by the Japanese. They build these things with gremlins, and you can't get your American-sized hand down in it to turn the screw. He would go crazy.
Oh, nice.
It's like me with her. We do not speak of...
I'm confused.
I'm confused, too.
No, you're not. You'll get it.
Okay. Oh! I thought you liked Sharon Kinney.
Daddy, no you didn't. Don't go there with this child. You already know she's in a snit tonight. Don't you mess with her like that.
You're right. I'm sorry for messing with you like that.
I got you, Krysta. Mama's got you.
Thank you, Mom.
So, that's all the information that I have on this week's topic.
I don't got nothing else. I have spouted all of my nonsense that I have to share. But I'm not too worried about gremlins.
Krysta?
I'm going to say this once, and I probably won't say this again. We have gremlins living in our house. I know they're real, but on a serious note, I think they're real.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they are, but with these stories, they just sound kind of silly. They all sound based off each other.
Alrighty.
And again, the best evidence we have for gremlins is the people that saw them,
Sure.
who are trained to be observers. And you do have a good point in that it's a high-stress job. Things can get out of hand, and especially high stress during wartime.
Sure.
And so maybe that's why they're not seen anymore. Because, but at the same time, then why didn't we see them in World War II or Vietnam? And maybe it's because that was a different time with, you don't even know.
You know.
So, but overall, I would say it's just a myth. There's just not enough evidence. As much as I trust pilots, because I know what they go through. And it's certainly enough to say, for when they say, look, I saw something, I don't know what it was, for me to go, okay. But gremlins, I have a hard time with, unless you buy into the theory that, maybe there's another, like, reality just under the skin of ours, which would explain why, like, a tired pilot like Charles Lindbergh sort of sensed having help at one point, is like he can kind of sense what's around him. And so for him, it was a positive experience, whereas for other pilots, maybe it was more negative. But that sounds more like a psychotic episode than a real thing.
Maybe.
So I don't know. I guess overall, I'm not going to worry about Gremlins. I've flown enough that I'm not worried about it.
That's a good idea.
But, I am going to worry about Krysta.
Why?
Because you're cute and we love you.
And you're my daughter. And I'm proud of you.
Okay, we got Gushy.
Okay.
So, all right.
So that brings us to the end of our show.
Yes, it does. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Bill Barrett, who does our theme music. He's a musical genius. If you need music for a project, Bill's your guy. Reach out to him at Bill Barrett, and that last name is spelled BEHRENDT, at sbcglobal.net.
You're getting really fast at saying that. That's cool.
I know how to spell his name. I'm good at that. Also, thanks to Paige Elmore from Reverie True Crime, who, along with our own Krysta, helped to do our logo art. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige. And Krysta.
And Krysta.
And Krysta. Thanks to the good people at Drunk Theory who reached out to us this week because they liked our art for the episode.
Well, we also just love them in general. Hi, Drunk Theory!
Hi, Drunk Theory. And also thanks to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who continues to promote us locally. Join us next week as we look into LA's Underground City.
Ooh.
LA's Underground City? We're okay, I'll check that with you later. Okay, cool. All right, so bye!
Bye!